Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, and Quincy Enunwa here inside the studio. The New York Jets fall to 5-3 on the year with a disappointing 22-17 loss to the New England Patriots. Fellas, I don't know where to start, but I will say this. From my vantage point, the Jets had control of this game early on, but it didn't say so on the scoreboard. Then at 10-3, late in that first half, everything flipped AB. Patriots going on a 19-point run, and they never looked back.
They did have control, but they kept it close. And when you keep teams close, it gives them a fighting chance. You felt like they were like, oh, wow, they're really doing a thing here defensively versus the Patriots. But when you look at what the Jets were doing, they weren't taking advantage of those situations. They weren't scoring in the red zone. All right, you get a big play with Garrett Wilson to change the field. You can't get it into the end zone. You're kicking field goals. So when you kick field goals, you're getting points, but you're keeping the other team in. And you hate to say this, but when you play in big divisional games, and you play in games where you feel like it's going to be tight, there's going to be one or two plays that make the difference. And what happens? Right before, a couple plays, but the biggest one was the pick six by Michael Carter, okay, takes it to the house. After an interception by Zach Pryor, they just totally shut them down. They get an opportunity, and JFM gets the late hit on the quarterback. So, there's no excuse for it. You'll watch it right here. Boom, the ball comes out. Great job. I mean, Mike Carter would have had his second pick of the day here. That's how good he played today. And it goes to show you the depth and what the guys can do. But I don't know if we can get a better replay of just that hit. Here it is here. I mean, look, ball's out. Let's go. Like, you can't do it. There's nothing you can do there. And JFM's kind of like looking to the left. He knows it's late. The internal clock, just like a quarterback when they're in. We hammer quarterbacks for not having an internal clock. D linemen got to have it. This isn't a new rule. This isn't something that came up last week from the NFL office. You got to make sure you're taking care of your business. And unfortunately, you never know when that's going to be the deciding play. And right there, that took 10 points, because we'll get into how it all laid out.
Oh, yeah.
But 10 points difference in that one situation was just brutal.
Q, I was thinking if that held up, Jets are going to win this game. They're going to have a 14-point lead at halftime, 17-3. And what a defensive stand that would have been, considering Zach Wilson was just intercepted for the first time on the afternoon. He was intercepted 3 times in all. They not only turned the Patriots away in that situation, they score points. And that place erupted, was going to be crazy. Instead, the Patriots kick a field goal. Nick Folk comes on before the end of the half. It's 10-6. They get possession to start the second half. And what do? They march right down the field. They score a touchdown. Mac Jones touchdown pass on a 4th-and-1 play. And from there, the Jets it felt like they were climbing uphill the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And AB pointed out about the field goal thing. I think the Jets defense did a great job of holding the field goals the whole game. And even in that series, they were able to hold them to a field goal. It's just unfortunate the offense couldn't get things going. Who knows what it was? If it was Zach, if it was the O-line, receivers not getting open, it's really hard to tell off that first look. But you talk about that pick play, right? If they get that pick play, they're going into the half with a better lead, a stronger lead. You're showing the depth on the defensive side, as well as the defense just giving you more opportunities to put points on the board when the offense is not able to do it. So, I don't know what they're going to be able to do going forward to produce more points on the offensive side, but that's going to be an important thing to look at. Because if they can't put points on the board and they're relying on the defense to hold up and the special teams to hold up, it's going to be a very difficult way to go for the rest of the year.
Well, let's go right there. The Jets definitely in transition today. No Breece Hall. No Elijah Vera Tucker. Those guys are going to have to live on without for the rest of the season. They'll be back in 2023. Corey Davis did not play today. You got 100 yards from Garrett Wilson, an impressive rookie receiver. Tyler Conklin got involved, 2 touchdown receptions. But in between early and then real late, a lot of stops and starts, and the Jets really didn't get much mojo.
Well, a couple things. I mean, the running game wasn't there. I mean, period. And it's not a product of Michael Carter. Obviously, Breece Hall's a special back, but it's a product of offensive line not being able to open the holes, not being able to kind of get a flow. James Robinson did a decent job, but basically straight downhill runs for him in this game, getting some reps. Now you're asking your quarterback to go out there and do a lot of things and be special and make sure that you get the ball in the playmaker's hands. And you're seeing a couple of highlights here. You're like, wow, like these guys. I mean, if you rip off the defensive stats, that they had, and you look at these highlights, you're thinking to yourself, how did the Jets lose this game? But it's those those 5 or 6 plays that happen in the game, the 3 interceptions, okay, the out of the pocket decisions. When you leave the pocket as a quarterback, it's got to be pretty clear cut. You're either going to get it to a check down or get it to a guy right now, or you're getting it out of bounds. To me, it's too much of an extension of a play sometimes. Just make a decision and go. I get it. You're agile. You're an athlete. You can do what you want. You got time, but it gets close sometimes. And what happens is, if you're waiting, that window that you throw the ball in becomes narrow and narrower. And now there's all bodies. There's different levels of defenders. There's guys running towards you when your eyes are here, and there's defenders all collapsing because they know you're not going to go back. You can get a bad play, and you saw that in the one play. I think it was the first interception you tried to get out of bounds? He didn't quite get it there. I mean, let's go. Throw that thing in his stance.
Yeah.
Like, you're already rolling that way. It's impossible. It should never happen. So,
well, the second one, defense.
Yeah, and like I said, we'd have to say, I'll take another look at the pocket. Was the pocket broken that much? I felt like Zach was out of the pocket a ton in this game. Can he stay in the pocket longer? Is there time for him to step up into the pocket and deliver a pass and maybe run, or instead of just getting out now because he feel like he's getting flushed and he's going back. Because when he goes out, it's back. Yeah. It's not out and along the line of scrimmage. So, again, he's made a ton of plays doing it. Don't get me wrong. Right. But at the same thing, it's like, okay, can we get some things within the framework of the box?
Yeah, and I want to add, that's a great point. Like, if you look at the other side, Mac Jones wasn't able to be as agile, and there was a lot of coverage sacks, especially in that first half. There was a few times where they got Mac Jones down because the coverage was so good on the back end. Whereas on the other side, Zach Wilson, he's able to see that the coverage is there and run out, but he just takes so long to get rid of the ball, and I think that's where they kind of have to figure it out. A lot of times when you see these offensive plays, there's outlets for him already there, and it seems like, when that protection comes in, he's not looking towards that outlet, and so then they have to figure out, okay, where do we need to tell him to go next? Where do we need to tell the receivers to do next, so that then there can be a little bit more progression in offense?
Well, in a comparison, too, of Mac's not fast.
Right.
We know he's not going to beat Zach Wilson in a race, but how many times did he just barely break a few breakdowns in the protection, save himself from getting a sack, and get 5, 10, 6, 7 yards. I think he had 30 yards rushing in that first half. Yeah. Those were enough to move the chains and get things going and put him in better circumstances. So, again, it's just a feel. It's an internal clock now. We're talking about the quarterback. It's understanding what's there for you in the pocket, and then hey, if progression 1's not there, 2's not there, like is the only other option just throw it away or just go get something up the field, protect your body, slide, and do what you can. So again, going back on the film, you're able to decipher all that, but when you see that the quarterback out of the pocket so much when it's not naturally called, it's it's a small little red flag. It's not a big one. It's just like, okay, like, do we have to do all that? So those are a part of kind of what you saw in the game today. But he had a ton of yards. I mean, but below 50% getting him as a passer is probably not going to get the job done.
The Jets defensively today, 6 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. So Mac Jones is going to be certainly feeling it tonight. There's the total yards numbers. The Jets, more than 100, almost 100 yards more total. But as Anthony mentioned, listen, on the ground, New England got it going with Stevenson. The Jets had just 51 yards. They were forced to put it up a lot in that second half. And unfortunately, they just were playing catch-up all afternoon in the second half as New England took control. For more on today's game, let's go out to MetLife Stadium. Here's Caroline Hendershot with Jets team captain C.J. Mosley.
Here with C.J. Mosley. C.J., the defense had 6 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. What did you think of their performance today as a whole?
Our defense, or I think we did pretty well. Only thing I would say, excuse me, just getting off the field on third down. We had a few missed tackles on those third down, and obviously we want to keep them out the end zone in the red area. So even though we had a great performance, a lot of the guys did some really good things. We can still be so much better. We never want to put a cap on our limit as a defense. We take a lot of pride. Whether the offense scores points, turn the ball over, or they got to want explosive in the special teams area. When we step out on the field, we want to try to hold the team to 0 0 points, 0 yards, any negative plays. So there's a lot of good things, but we definitely still got some work to do.
Your defense, specifically on third down conversion, seemed to change in the second half. What was that difference from the first half to the second half?
Well, they was doing a lot of escort screens. Third and long, we drop in the zone. That's a lot of yards where nobody's around the receiver. So they was definitely getting first downs off that. So we had to change up our defense a little bit so we can get a little more closer to those type of plays.
And I know you've been in this league for a long time. You've seen the losses, you've seen the wins. What do you take from this game going forward and use it for the Buffalo Bills next weekend?
It was a great experience for our young team, mainly because of the atmosphere. Going against the Patriots division game. All those things going together. So just the guys getting used to that type of environment is really good. And the past few weeks we've been playing really good football, and we've seen how that looked. And today wasn't as good as we expected. So we got to understand that no matter where we are, no matter what the circumstances is, we always got to try to play complimentary football.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, CJ.
Thank you.
The Jets' 4-game winning streak comes to an end this afternoon at MetLife Stadium. The final was the Patriots 22, the Jets 17. Interesting perspective here before we get to the turning point from C.J. Mosley. He thinks these young guys are going to be able to grow from this experience, being in that kind of environment today, AB.
Yeah, I feel bad. CJ's such a baller. I mean, the guy goes out there and delivers every week. He had one little, personal foul there on the outside of the helmet, but man.
What is he supposed to do?
Not lay his form on the back of his neck.
But Mac Jones is reaching for the first down there.
I get it.
I don't know.
Listen, it's an awareness of that player, and I'm not going to listen. There's nobody here on this desk, nor myself, who's going to question anything C.J. Mosley done, because most of the time he's doing it 100% correct. But he is by far the leader on the defense. I mean, he had some really good stops, some good pass coverage today. And, he's right. I mean, I think he's looking at it as a big picture kind of thing. It's like, listen, we're having success this year. We're in a good spot. Today, you're right. A lot of things didn't happen right. Some third down, some zones, some areas opened up. Offensively, a lot of young players getting some opportunities. Guys are trying to deliver. But there are some young pieces on this team. It does take time. Nobody's pegging this team to go to the playoffs this year, right? It's got to be earned each and every single week, and they're doing a good job so far. Being a 5-3 is a good spot. But now as you go on, now you're going to start to see another good team, maybe the best in the NFL, coming to your place. So I guess, and I can close the show with this, but we're not done yet, but how does Zach Wilson respond?
Yeah.
Right? So, hey, you had a bad game. Everybody's got bad games, but okay, you come back against Buffalo and redeem yourself, guess what? Things can change. You can potentially win your 6th game. You're in a good spot. You beat a division leader. So, this is how the game of football is. We have to be critical in a sense because, it's out there. Nobody's blind to what they saw, right? Interceptions, whatever it may be. But everyone can play better. On your worst games, you can play better, and guys usually got good players respond. But in this circumstance and for this game, the opportunities were there everywhere. I mean, the Patriots didn't run away with this one. They allowed the Jets to make the mistakes, and they didn't make the mistakes in the key moments.
So that's what Robert Saleh always says, right? That 90% of the games in the National Football League are lost. Would you guys say that the Jets lost this game today?
Absolutely, and that's something that Bill Belichick is known for, right? Like anytime you play a Bill Belichick coach team, you know that if you go out there and make mistakes, he's going to do his best to capitalize on it. And they did that this game, right? The Jets defense did a great job of holding back that offense. They had some players over there. They had 2 receivers that had 100-yard games. Their running back is talented, and the Jets did a good job of kind of minimizing how much they could do, right? They kicked about 4 or 5 field goals. It's just the offense wasn't able to get things going. Special teams coming out of the half had a kick that dribbled to the, 30-yard line. I mean, you put the defense in a compromised position, of course they're going to give up a score there. But you look at it from in the first half, they did so good. It's just you got to continue to be consistent. And that's one thing the Jets have to try to do. I think, it was looking good. They were doing a good job of finishing strong. And then you come into this game, and they started strong, right? That's what we were looking for, start strong. But they just weren't able to be consistent and finish strong.
Uncharacteristic game from the special teams.
Yeah.
The Jets' special teams through 7 games this season, I would make the argument, bar none, they were the best in the National Football League. But it started early. You had the short punt from Mann.
Yep.
You talked about the kickoff at the beginning of the second half. Zerline missed a field goal.
Yeah.
Then there was a punt return as well.
Right.
It seemed like there were breakdowns in multiple areas on teams as well today. It wasn't just the turnovers offensively. Let's get to the turning point, though, fellas. At the end of the first half, here's the situation. The Jets have the football. It's 3rd and 2 from their own 43. Zach Wilson does not set himself. Throws a pass intended for Ty Johnson's, intercepted by Bentley. But that sets up this play right here. Two plays later, Mac Jones is looking for Tyquan Thornton, a talented rookie speedster from Baylor. He's intercepted by Michael Carter II. Carter II takes it back for what appears to be 6. Looks like it's a 17-3 game. Instead, that comes back. Flag on John Franklin Myers. And Robert Saleh said after the game, this was an interesting explanation. He said the official told him that Franklin Myers hit the quarterback too hard.
I mean, listen, he lunged at him. He extended his arms. He tried to hit him down. The ball was not in his hand. That's a flag all day, every day. You can complain all you want about it. Jets fans don't like it. They think they got, the banana in the tailpipe by the referees in this game, whatever it may be. But it is what it is, man. That's just and unfortunately for the Jets, you're talking about 17-3. You're talking about going into halftime. The Patriots are going to take a knee, okay, after that. They're going to go inside, and they're reeling right now. They're thinking, man, like, we can't get nothing cooking. We're going to have to change everything we're doing. We're going to have to spread it out, throw the ball more, and more opportunities for the defense to hammer Mac Jones, probably get a strip sack, something else happens, and then all of a sudden, bam, this turns into a blowout to your end. That's just how things work out. So it's one play. The games are won and lost. You talk about 90%, whatever that 10%. It's literally, the games are defined by 3 or 4 plays a game, and that one was just a huge, monstrous play that, quite frankly, I mean, you're drinking your beers and eating those hot dogs a lot better at halftime when you're up 17-3 than you're kind of like shaking back to your seat, instead, because you only got the 10-6 lead.
That one was such a crusher because Saleh always talks about lapping teams, scoring at the end of the half, then getting the ball and scoring again. Well, instead of a 17-3 lead, as we continue to say, it is 13-10 because New England takes that second half kickoff. They go right down the field. Big play from Stevenson. They convert on 4th down. They're inside the red zone with a scoring pass from Mac Jones, and they never relinquished control after that. It's just a shot to the solar
controlled
plexus.
aggression, man. You got to have controlled aggression.
Yeah.
You got to be able to play hard, but don't play silly. Personal fouls. I mean, it's just when you're dealing with the quarterback. It's one thing when it happens out in the field for circumstances, big hits across the middle, things that you can't control sometimes because of the speed of the game. But when you're talking about hitting a quarterback, I mean, man, this is like national coverage every week on something.
Yeah.
That, you're not missing it. So again, you saw him. The ball came out. The force, the official's right, what he said to Saleh. I mean, it was just too much, man. If he just maybe bumped into him and he kind of went like this and then went back, okay, maybe you live, and he's like, I'll let it slide. But, man, he almost fell on his face, JFM, after that hit. We laugh about it, but that is that's a monster turning point.
And that's a good point, right? Controlled aggression. I think that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
You play such a physical game. In between the whistles, you're able to go out there and really wreck somebody, right? And then as soon as the whistle's blown, you got to stop. So you got to think about that while you're in the game as well. If you're not able to go out there and control yourself, control the aggression in those moments, then you're not going to be a very disciplined team. And, you don't want to be looked at as an undisciplined team when you're finishing games as strong as you have recently.
What should the identity of the offense, let's go to the other side of the ball. What should the identity of offense be now without a guy like Hall in the lineup, AB?
I think balance is what you need. I really do. I mean, and that could get stale sometimes when you're trying to run the football, right? Because if it doesn't work, you're like, how much more do you have to feed off it until you finally get something going? But, there are some ways you can pass the ball and still have a run game-ish type of feel to it. I like the.
I thought Robinson ran hard today, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he had a couple downhill runs. He had a nice burst. Eventually, he's going to get more, and he'll be able to do some things. He's kind of feeling it, the linemen and stuff like that. I thought that little jet sweep action with Garrett was really good play. Elijah Moore wasn't really a featured player in this game. Maybe he's a guy that, you can get some quick things to. I'm not quite sure what's going on in that department there, but Mims got a lot of tries today. Mims gets a chance to play early. It's an early run play. He's tight in the formation. They run the ball to his side, and he forgets to block the corner. The corner comes up and makes a TFL. So, look, you talk about players, they want all this stuff, right? They want the ball. They want to be in the game. And then you get out there, and it's like, man, it's not just about he took out them safeties. He understands it's bigger than just one piece of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that entail in your job, and you can't just go out there and catch a ball. What did he get, a 50-plus yard catch today? That was great.
Yes.
I'm fired up for the guy. But you know what? He's going to get a minus on something else. Now his grade's not going to be as good because of that situation. So, again, you got to hone in on what you're doing. And, at the end of the day, just offensively, it's all about scoring touchdowns, and they weren't able to do that today.
Yeah. What would you say about that? I mean, Garrett, you got to be encouraged that Zach and Garrett found themselves today, because I think Wilson, the receiver out of Ohio State, had a combined 100 yards receiving the last 4 games. He goes over 100 yards today. Got the tight ends involved, so AB's got to be happy about that. Tyler Conklin, you saw Uzama getting a catch there as well. So I think those are a couple things you can build on here. But, Elijah Moore, no catches today. Denzel Mims had the big catch late, but the Jets are going to have to figure some things out offensively as they move ahead with their second-year quarterback.
Yeah, and I like how they kind of spread the ball around, right? The tight ends have not really had a lot of opportunities, so for them to really start the game strong, they gave the ball to Conklin a few times, even had the touchdown on a strong catch, right? Then I like how they kind of got Zach Wilson a little bit of rhythm, right? He had the little sweeps to Garrett Wilson, but instead of handing the ball off or throwing it behind him, those are all passing yards for him, right? Getting him a little bit of confidence, putting some stuff on the stat sheet so that when he looks up and sees his stats, he's like, okay, I got 100 yards right now, even though it might not have looked like a pass. I think all those things go into the mental part of the game of getting that guy that confidence. It's just, okay, now, like you said before, what is their identity, right? I think they were trying to figure out, okay, we don't have Breece Hall, we don't have Corey Davis, and Corey Davis is a guy that's a great run blocker as well as a receiver, so you were missing that as well on the edge. They had to figure out, now that they're missing those pieces, what are we going to look like? Because today was a different offense than what they've been running before, right? It was a lot more of tight end focus. They had a lot of deeper passes involved. So it's just about figuring it out with all these injuries.
How many passes today for Zach? Was it
Is
over?
It was
was
over.
It 50?
It was in the 40s. I will get you the exact
20
number
for
right
41,
now.
I think. 20
Yes,
for 41.
that's what
20
it
for
was.
41,
There you go.
355, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was sacked twice.
A whole different game.
Yeah, I just that's probably not the recipe for success. If I get Zach low 30s in the passes, and get some runs, screen plays. I didn't see any screens today. I don't believe, right? Little things like that, just to kind of get the flow going a little bit, get those chunk yards, try to get the backs involved in other ways. But again, it's a close game. You're in this game, even with the turning point. It's just you got to find a way to, there was a big area of time where 19 unanswered points is 19 unanswered points. I mean, you got to capitalize somewhere on offense.
Here's a number that's going to stick in your craw. Patriots 34 rushes for 127 yards. Jets had just 15 rush attempts for 51 yards.
Yeah.
Yep. And Mac Jones, 35 pass attempts. Conversely, Zach Wilson, 41 pass attempts. Tyler Conklin, he was targeted 10 times today, 6 catches, 79 yards. Denzel Mims with the 2 catches for 76 yards. Where's that scoring summary here? Oh, there's Garrett Wilson's stats. Big-time receiver, big-time player out of Ohio State. Again, getting it done for the Jets. First 100-yard game since week 2 against the Cleveland Browns. All right, Quincy, we're up at the telestrator right now. 6 catches for Jets rookie Garrett Wilson today for 115 yards. He reaches 100 yards receiving for the second time in his young pro career. How about this double move on a 54-yard reception?
Yeah, so like you said, Garrett Wilson had a great game today. Unfortunately, the Jets couldn't get the win out, but here's a couple plays that he did well that I want to highlight. So this first one here, I'm going to assume it's a scissors route, right? So we have a post here, we got a corner here, and then we got guys on the backside running to give Zach Wilson an outlet. On the start of the play, there's a little bit of pressure for Zach in the backfield, so he chooses to come out here, and this is a great play by Garrett Wilson. If we can just rewind, you see Garrett Wilson right here. He sees his quarterback is in trouble,
Yep.
and he does a good job of turning up. giving him an outlet, which is always perfect for a young quarterback to have somebody else to go to, because as he gets out here, there's nobody else in this area for him to go to. They didn't give him a shallow route. Normally you're going to have some shallow route, something here to give him an outlet to. He didn't have that on this play. So it was a great job by Garrett Wilson to turn that ball up and Zach Wilson to find him deep.
Scramble drill rules for a receiver. What's going through your mind if you're Wilson there and you see Zach Wilson getting out of the pocket?
Yeah, so obviously you're going to have two different ideas. So sometimes they say deep guy comes short, short guy goes deep. But in this play, you don't have a short or a deep guy. You just have one guy out here. You're going to have Braxton Berrios usually will be a guy that comes this way. Garrett Wilson, like I said before, did a good job of going up. He also had the option to come down, but if I rewind it a little bit, you'll see that there was somebody underneath him right here. So he didn't have that option on this play. So he did a good job of turning up and making himself available for the quarterback. And then I want to show this backside here because this is one thing that Garrett Wilson does a good job of. AB pointed it out to me before. First we'll show. Great job. Looking back, he sees his quarterback's in trouble. He goes up, and this is what I want to point out right here, right? He catches the ball, and he's immediately looking for work. A lot of times you'll see a guy, he'll catch that ball, and he might go down. He might feel the pressure. But Garrett Wilson does a good job. Okay, let me get this stiff arm and try to make another play. So this is a young guy that's always available, always ready to make plays, and I want to show this next one coming up as well. So on this one here, what I like about this play, first off, they give him an outlet, right? They give our quarterback an outlet. So the play looks like this. You're going to see this as an outlet in case it's zone. You got Elijah Moore running the corner, and you got Garrett Wilson motioning to see if it's man or zone, and then running an out route against man with an inside leverage corner.
So he comes over in a stack formation. You got Denzel Mims underneath.
Yes, exactly. So here we go. I'm running real quick. You got your stack. Quarterback knows, okay, this guy motioned in. It's probably man, but the Patriots did a good thing on this play. I also want to point out, a lot of times you're going to see this guy will take this guy, but on this one, it did a little bit of a confusion, but it worked out well for the Jets. So instead of the top man taking the point guy, what he did was he took the back guy. Now, for Garrett Wilson, he knows I got inside leverage on this guy, and I just got to run my out route with good depth and make sure I'm making myself quarterback friendly. So you see the inside leverage, good job, and then the break. Quarterback puts the ball only where he can get it, and we got a great first down. I also want to show right here, right? Like I said, he had this as an option. He had Denzel Mims as an option underneath in case he needed to go there. So this is great play design. Now we'll show the backside.
Love it. You're giving it to us from all angles.
Yep. So again, a lot of times you're going to see this. You'll see this guy here take this guy here, but the Patriots did something different, which made it actually harder for Elijah Moore because now he's got an outside leverage guy. He's got an outside leverage guy on his outside breaking route. So you're going to see he actually falls on this play, but fortunately, the guy that they wanted to go to was open because he had outside leverage on an outside breaking route. Great job. And then he comes back friendly. Every time you have an out route, that's what you want to do. You want to make yourself available for your quarterback. Again, Garrett Wilson does a good job of making himself available. As a young receiver, he does some great things well.
Yeah, a great job at the top of his route. And you see the basketball skills in play, going to the top of his jump, pulling it in, getting the first down. After the game, Ethan Greenberg caught up with the Jets' impressive rookie wideout, Garrett Wilson.
Here with wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Garrett, just what was Coach Salah's message to the team after this one?
You know, you play a long season, and we got the Bills next week. You know, so there's no taking the foot off the pedal for us. There's no real time to dwell on the loss. You know, we got to move on and get ready to, play a really tough opponent next week. And that was the message in the locker room after. You know,
it felt like that the offense had big spurts. You had a big 54-yard gain, but what do you think was missing to put it together for 4 full quarters?
Just consistency. Right now it's like you said, we'll get a big play, and how are we stacking them? And we got to be consistent. And I feel like it'll come over time. But that's got to be the focus for us. We got to be more consistent. We got to put drives together. The Patriots kept us on the sideline. All game. It never was sit down and get back up. It was one of those things where they were making our defense work and offense sitting on the sideline, and we got to, maybe take a note from them and be more consistent, put some drives together, and eliminate those 3 and outs.
Garrett, to go off of that point, How do you go about improving third down numbers just as a team, and just can you describe the importance of it from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it kind of goes off what I just said with consistency. You know, doing well on first and second down, and putting yourself in a scenario to where you're not in third 15, third and 20. You know, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a lot on offense this week, and did it last week as well, and it kind of rolled into this week. So, you know, it's all about third down is really about first and second down. What do you do with first and second down? Build a rhythm, you know, and then when it's third down, someone's got to make a play, and you know, that's just the fact of the matter, and we didn't do that.
Awesome, Garrett. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it,
man.
You are watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. The Jets fall to 5-3 on the season with a 22-17 loss to the Patriots, who improved to 4-4 this afternoon. There is your scoring summary. The Jets getting on board early and having a first-half lead, as we've talked about a number of times this afternoon. Late in that second quarter, this game completely flipped. A number that stood out to me today was not just the total yard discrepancy, where the Jets outgained the Patriots by 99 yards, but the Jets averaged 6.7 yards per play, and the Patriots averaged 3.8 yards per play. That's twice as much. But that emphasizes, I think, the details here. You got to take care of business. The Jets just did not do enough to win this football game. A lot of self-inflicted errors. Let's get to our report cards, starting with you, Anthony.
Yeah, you know, it got to be tough today because a lot of things happen in this game. Offensively, it's going to be a D. And the reason why is every time you have a turnover, I got to knock off a letter. So we had 3 turnovers. Right now I'm starting, you know, at the top of D. So we got to score touchdowns in the red zone. You get big plays. You have to finish the drive. Zach has to be a better player. You know, yeah, it was a lot on his shoulders today, but he's got to be smart. He's got to be better. He's got to be better in the pocket. I think he had 2 rushing yards today. It fathoms me. I just don't understand how that's even possible. The guy is as athletic as any quarterback in the league. Defense, again, the tragic mistake today with the personal foul on the interception took away. Honestly, it was a 10-point swing. I mean, that's just monstrous. You know, it's hard to even say where you can start from a grade standpoint. So I just felt like a C+. The effort was great across the board everywhere else. But that moment in time, and also coming out of the half, just not being prepared for that big drive by the Patriots really affected at least the score at that point, gave the Patriots the lead. So C+ for the defense, but overall, outside of that monster play, well, special teams, just too much going on, man. Missed. How about this? So you can start. Braxton Berrios takes the opening kickoff halfway through the end zone and gets it just past the 10. Then man punts the ball to the 45-yard line. Okay, that's disastrous. Could have been terrible. We had a squib kick coming out of the half that shortened the field down, and the Patriots get great field position because no one's in the middle of the field to tackle the returner. We missed the field goal in the game. I mean, that's
Zerline's been great this year, but
yeah, well, that's 5 things in this game. Yeah. I'm talking about 5 things in special teams. That's not good. Right. So that's a D. Almost got an F, but it's a D. It's just not good enough. So. Again, this team is not good enough to win in just 1 or 2 phases. They have to be complementary in what they do, and they weren't that today. And in a close game, it was a close game, and those kind of grades, and you still almost won that game, which is mind-blowing to me, but that's kind of what it is.
Yep. Hey, that's the coach of an XFL team right here. Yeah. Anthony Becht. You know he's going to be a tough grader. Q?
So for the defense, I'm going to go a little differently, but for a couple things, right? So when you think about the defense, what they had to do today, there was 5 drives within Jets territory. So, and then at one point there was 3 straight drives. So, I mean, they were always up against a short field. So to only give up field goals for the majority of that game, I mean, they did pretty well. So I gave them a B+, and I feel like they earned that. They earned that. You know, they did a good job. There was a few mistakes. Obviously, we talk about the JFM play. We talk about the personal foul with CJ. You know, there were a couple of different plays, but you know, they got interceptions. You know, they got sacks. You know, they got TFLs. They held them to 3 yards per play. I mean, that's great play right there. You know, so I'm gonna go with a B+ right there. Then on the offensive side, C-. You know, I appreciate the 6 yards per play, but it just wasn't good enough. You know, I think there was no identity. You know, we talked about how, you know, usually it's a very run-first offense. Today it was a very pass-first offense. They were really trying to find their identity again with the guys that they lost. And so I'm giving them a little bit of grace for that. But ultimately, the offensive coordinator, your job is to figure out what to do. You have 5, 6 days, really almost 7 days leading up to the game to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with the guys that I have on the field? And they just weren't able to figure it out. The yards are great, but for the most part, they weren't able to put up points. They didn't really score again till the fourth quarter. So that was the third quarter where they didn't have any points. So it was just a very ugly game in terms of the offense. You just want to see more as a complete offense. And special teams, there's not enough plays on special teams to make these mistakes. You can't do the punt. You can't do the kickoff. You can't do the punt return. So for me, I got to give them a C-. It's not. I think they probably had a good game, but any bad play on special teams, you automatically knocking grades off because there's just not enough plays for you to make that up.
And there's some good individual efforts. I
Definitely.
hate getting, these grades are the full picture.
Definitely.
Some really good individual efforts, and I'm not discounting that. But listen, man, it's a team game. It's not one guy. And unfortunately, as a unit, these are the kind of grades you get when you lose football games.
All right, offense for me, I go C-. You had the 3 interceptions from Zach Wilson. But on the positive side of the ledger, I am taking something from the fact that Zach and Garrett Wilson got connected for really the first time this season. The young receiver out of Ohio State who's going to be a standout in the National Football League. That's his second career 100-yard receiving game. Also encouraged by what I saw from Tyler Conklin, and we saw C.J. Uzama get a catch there in the second half as well. Conklin very effective after the catch today. And I got to give some credit to the big guys up front, too. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. And, boy, I thought that he was getting some help out there, but held his own for the most part. Judon is going to make plays against anybody in the National Football League. But I'll go C- there. I'm going C- special teams. Like we've talked about, the standard here is an A for Brant Boyer's unit. Today was not one of their finest efforts. We've talked about the punt, the first punt for Man, the missed field goal from Zerline, the kickoff at the beginning of the second half. There was a punt return in there from the Patriots that went deep inside Jets territory. They just didn't play up to their standards. The positive side of that is this was the 8th game of the Jets for the Jets this season. They're going to play better. We know that. Defense, I got to give a B. The bottom line is, yes, those were 2 big penalties on Mosley and JFM, and we could talk about those all night long. With that being said, they 13 tackles for loss and 6 sacks today. They won at the line of scrimmage. They were put in really tough positions continually throughout the afternoon, like Quincy talked about. They gave an effort that was a winning effort. For my money, I'm giving them a B today. That is how our grades go this afternoon. Zach Wilson just completing nearly 49% of his passes, has the 355 yards, but the 2 touchdowns and the 3 picks. After the game, the voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, talked to the Jets quarterback.
Zach, how frustrating, and how do you bounce back?
Just got to move on. This league's tough, and it's the stuff that'll make you stronger.
I know you're going to take the slings and arrows. That goes along with being the quarterback. But mentally, how do you deal with it, knowing that it's coming this week?
You just got to stay confident, learn from the mistakes and move on.
Yeah, and you mentioned learning, and every game obviously offers teach tape. What do you think you will learn from this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good, but I got to eliminate, the bad plays there. I had a couple chances there to just throw the ball out of bounds. Got too greedy with it. Frustrated with some stalled drives, and I got to be able to throw the ball away.
Is that also like just pressing, wanting to make a play?
Right. I mean, we moved the ball up and down on these guys, and so there was times on third down where, it was specifically the last one there. The one before that, I really was trying to throw it out of bounds, and I think the dude closed on me a little quicker, and I stretched the scramble a little too much and left it inside there. But the second one, I'm just trying to make a play there, and unfortunately, it's not there.
Okay, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
You're watching Jets Overtime presented by Sirius XM. Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, and Quincy Enunwa. Clearly frustrated young quarterback Zach Wilson right there, Anthony.
Yeah, you just got to get better and improve. Less is more sometimes, trying to describe everything that's going on and what you're thinking, what you were doing. At the end of the day, you got to be better in certain situations of the game. Tom Brady gets in a lot of interviews and doesn't say a lot. It's just, look, we got to get better as a team. I got to do better at my job. And, Zach has to go back and evaluate himself just like every other player does every single week. And how do you respond? The biggest thing in football is responding after a loss. The team is 5-3, fans. Relax. They're 5-3. Yeah, it wasn't great today, and I love the fan support. It was a great afternoon at the stadium today. Seeing all those fans out there was rocking. The black uniforms.
It was hard to get in. Traffic was
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it was good, but that's the support they need. They're going to need it against the Bills. Honestly, I mean, it's going. If you want it to be a tight game, that noise factor is going to be something on third down. I thought the defense really fed off of it too. Hard to get real rowdy with the offense unless they make a big play. But from a defensive wise, I mean, they made some big plays in this football game. So let's see how everybody bounces back. But at the end of the day, quarterback has to answer for everything because they're the spotlight.
He misfired on that ball at the end of the first half, looking for Ty Johnson. That was intercepted by Bentley. He just talked about the second interception where Jets deep inside their own territory. He's by the sideline. He said he was trying to throw the ball out of bounds. McCourty, the savvy veteran safety, somehow got his body in making that play.
Right. And I pointed out in the telestration, they had the scissors route with the corner and the post and nobody underneath. But, I think one other thing that they got to kind of have to figure out, and I mentioned this earlier, was giving him more outlets. And if it's not about outlets, then just having him find a way to feel more confident in the pocket. He does a lot of escaping, and, we love to see the agility that he has, the ability to make guys miss. But sometimes he takes himself out of a play because if that wasn't a play where he was supposed to go that way, he had somebody on the backside, right, a running back coming out that he could have gone to if he didn't escape the pocket. So just figure out a way to make him feel more comfortable in the pocket and find where he needs to go as opposed to thinking that he needs to run every time.
Yeah, and like you said, it doesn't get any easier next week. We'll get to that here in a moment, but let's start with our game balls. Where are you going today?
Yeah, I had a last-minute fix. I was thinking defense, but I'm going to go with Tyler Conklin. And the reason why is today is what I envisioned him to be in this offense. The things he did today were in the framework of the game where it mattered, okay? And it felt like he was a part of the game plan. And, I just felt like this is this is what I was expecting. First time all season we've seen it. So, do we get more of it? Who knows? But that's the way it should look, in my opinion. He's good. He clearly can get open. He's aggressive as hell. He ran up the sideline on that one catch. Should have been just a 6-yard gain. The dude ran like 3 dudes over, threw a DB off him. You see how guys get confidence when they get the rock, right? Conklin's kind of waiting for it. It's been a little bit sporadic, but man, getting in the end zone twice today, it all mattered in the framework of the game. And then it's not a late dump them 6 balls because we're down, like we've seen. This is where it was. So I give him a game ball at tight end. It's good to see it happen, and even CJ get on the action as well.
Late audible. No surprise he goes to the tight end there.
Dying to go to the tight end.
No surprise there. How about you, Quincy? I got a feeling you might go with a wideout.
Well, I want to talk about the tight end for just 1 second.
Okay.
I hope that they can figure out a way to add in the tight ends as well as what they have going on, because you saw Tyler Conklin, he did some great things on his second touchdown, the route with the little shake at the top. I mean, that guy, when I watch some of his film, you can tell that he has a little bit of wiggle, and that's why he's the guy that's getting more of the targets than Uzoma is. So I want to see that kind of integrated into the offense more and more. But for my game ball is going to Garrett Wilson, and that was an easy one, right? This guy can do it all, right? You give him on the end around. It's usually a Braxton Berrios play, but they're like, you know what? Let's give it to Garrett Wilson. And look at the speed, the agility, the cuts. He just does a good job with the ball in his hands. Then he's also able to go deep. He's able to make these plays and still have the awareness to, he might have been able to keep going if somebody wasn't behind him. Then I love this play here. I talked about it, the out route coming back down flat. This guy is just good. He goes up and gets it. You can put it anywhere you need for it to be, and he will make the play for you. This is a guy, he's your wide receiver 1. It doesn't matter who's out there. He's going to make those plays. He's had some games where he hasn't been able to compete and play as well as he needed to. He had a real test against the Packers. Jair Alexander did a good job on him, but I think he's learning and he's growing. He's figuring out what he needs to do. It's not college anymore, but even with that, he's still making plays against NFL guys in a rookie year.
My game ball goes to C.J. Mosley, the Mike linebacker, the heart of this defense. 13 tackles. That means 23 straight games an NFL long active streak of at least 7 tackles. Mosley was all over the place. He is the guy that you can count on every week. He's going to not only accumulate the tackles, but he's such a good player in terms of his football instincts and knowing where people are going to attack this Jets defense. And also, he's going to be so valuable in the locker room moving forward because he talked about this being a young team. They got to lean on guys like 57 for his professionalism, the way he attacks each day, each play, each rep. Mosley, again, great effort from him despite the loss. Fellas, as we look ahead, not going to get any easier next week. Big one at MetLife Stadium. You thought today was big? Well, the Buffalo Bills, who are playing the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football, they're coming to town next week. They've won the division 2 consecutive years running. They're looking for a third AFC East championship in as many years, but they have their sights set on something bigger, and that's the Super Bowl.
I think this defense is good enough to really give problems to the Bills, number one.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. The Bills will score. The question is, how's the offense going to be able to counter that? Are they going to be able to bring something to the party? And that's going to be the biggest thing in this game. Yeah. I think there's pieces there. I think Zach has an opportunity to grow and learn, and let's see how big of a jump he can make coming off a loss. A lot of yards, a lot of pretty numbers there from a yard standpoint, but clearly the turnovers are not going to get it done. And maybe his legs become a little bit of a feature to help him stay in the pocket more. It's a happy kind of medium there on how to really tell a quarterback, listen, we love the fact you make plays outside the pocket, but maybe you don't want to tell him to stay in the pocket too long because then he's going to take sacks. So it's got to be a natural flow. Go through your progressions, trust what you got going in front of you, and then just play off of it. But you have to have balance, and if the team doesn't have balance next week, it's not going to be. It's going to be a tough short.
Wanted to get your thoughts on the Bills, but interesting too from a quarterback perspective. We know Zach Wilson is the Jets quarterback. Robert Saleh said after the game that Mike White is now the Jets backup, so he takes the spot of Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was a game day inactive today. Wow. Well, yes, he was on the sideline. Yes, in street clothes.
Gotcha. You know what I'm excited about? I can't wait to watch DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner against Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. That will be a great show. I'm excited to watch that. I love what the defense is putting out right now. They're continuing to show. They're continuing to build. I think the league is on notice for the Jets defense. Like, everybody knows if you go up against the Jets defense, it's going to be a hard day. It's just the offense needs to figure out their identity, especially now with the injuries. I think they were really kind of clicking on all cylinders, with Breece Hall out there and figuring out what to do with those two, him and Michael Carter. So now it's, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to put on the field to make sure that we can continue to be successful? And once they figure that out, this is going to be a scary Jets team.
A scary Jets team on the eve of Halloween, huh? How about this guy? He's going to close with that. Trade deadlines this week. If you're Joe Douglas, do you make any moves as far as going out and trying to bring somebody here? Because you'll get calls about your roster. This is a deep roster.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe you get yourself a couple picks on a position that's deep. But
okay.
I feel like you're in a good spot right now. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed if he made a move, but if he didn't, I'd sleep at night. So it's I don't think they really need anything right now. They just got to get better in what they have.
Right.
Yep. All right, well, that's it for Anthony Back, Quincy Enunwa, everybody here at One Jets Drive. We are getting out of here. A tough night for the New York Jets, but with that being said, better days on the horizon. Enjoy your Halloween.